Alright, now we have completed the introduction of the unboxing process. You have seen what the packaging looks like and we have unpacked the amplifier, subwoofer, speakers, and amplifier wiring kit for you. Next, let's talk about the accessories inside and the main product itself. Once we finish the introduction, I will show you how it looks after installation, so you can see the final result. Firstly, let's discuss what we need for the installation in our car audio system. The first thing we need is the head unit, which serves as the audio source. Since we are currently in a laboratory setting and not in an actual car, we won't be using a car head unit. Instead, we will use a mobile phone as our audio source device. Once we have the audio source device, our next step is to connect the audio signal to the amplifier. We have two amplifiers here, so what's the best way to make the connection? We will use RCA cables for input. RCA cables are commonly used for audio connections. How do we connect them? Usually, the amplifiers come with some accessories. Both of these amplifiers have such accessories, which are the cables we need. These cables are designed to convert the RCA output signal into a compatible connector. This allows us to connect them to the amplifier. The amplifier has an input interface specifically designed to receive this signal. Alright, after inputting the audio source, our amplifier still can't do its job. An amplifier is a power amplifier that requires a power supply to function properly. If we only have the signal without sufficient power, the output will be very weak, especially with mobile phone signals, which may only have a few milliwatts. So, how do we amplify the power? In car audio systems, we use the car's battery as the power source. The car battery supplies power through these two cables. You can see these cables, one of them is connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and the other is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. We need to connect one end of these two cables to the battery and the other end to the amplifier. On this side of the amplifier we can connect the RCA cables to the amplifier's input interface and also adjust settings like gain, high-pass filtering, and low-pass filtering. The other side is where we connect the power supply. This side also includes high-level outputs. The output of a mono amplifier is used for connecting a subwoofer, while the output of a multi-channel amplifier is used for connecting mid-range speakers and tweeters. We will show you the completed installation later. Finally, we need to connect to the battery, which means connecting to the positive terminal of the battery and grounding it to the negative terminal. This is where the power comes from the battery. Now, let's take a look at the amplifier. Between the 12-volt and negative terminals, there is a small terminal socket. So, what is the purpose of this terminal socket? Let's consider a question. When we connect the power supply to the amplifier, it doesn't have a switch, and typically, the amplifier is not placed in an obvious location. It might be installed in the rear trunk of the car or secured in a spot where it can't be easily accessed. After adjusting the amplifier's gain, high-pass filter, and low-pass filter, at most, we would connect an extension cable to adjust the volume or gain on the subwoofer. But other than that, we can't physically reach the amplifier from the front seat, which means we can't control the amplifier's power switch. So, how do we control the amplifier's power switch? If the amplifier doesn't have a switch, it is usually designed to be in an on state. Even if the car is not started, the amplifier remains on. But then, wouldn't this drain our car battery quickly? Especially for amplifiers that can reach a power of 1000 watts, typical car batteries have a voltage of 12 volts and a current capacity of only 40 to 50 amp hours. Even with an 80 amp hour battery, it would be depleted quickly by such an amplifier. So, how do we prevent this issue? In our cars, many devices rely on the car battery's power even when the engine is off. The design of the amplifier works in such a way that it only receives power when the car is started or when the audio source unit is turned on. This is where the small terminal socket we saw earlier comes into play. Its purpose is to allow us to control the power switch of the amplifier. We will connect a wire to this socket, so that the amplifier can be properly powered on only when the car is started and the audio source unit switch is turned on, receiving the 12-volt power supply. That's when the amplifier truly comes to life. In addition to the thickest power cables, there are other thicker cables without any connectors. They are not RCA connectors. And these cables are used for what? Once the amplifier receives the audio signal from the source unit and is powered on, it generates an amplified music signal. But how do we output it to the speakers? This is where the thicker high-level output cables come into play. These cables are also quite thick, and the thickness indicates the ability to deliver higher power sound. We can use these cables to output the music to the subwoofer. Additionally, there are 4 more cables here. Why are there 4? Because in the upcoming demonstration, we will be connecting 2 mid-range speakers and 2 tweeters, so we need these 4 cables to connect them. For many beginner enthusiasts, it can be confusing to figure out where to purchase the different types of wires. But don't worry, we can see here that there is a set called Amp Kit 4. This kit includes a set of 4-gauge wires. If you have 2 amplifiers, you'll need to buy 2 sets of these wires. Generally, 4-gauge wires are used to supply power to high-power subwoofers. Additionally, Cadence offers another set called Amp Kit 8. It is suitable for providing power to lower-power mid-range or tweeter speakers. These wire kits come with sufficient length to allow for installation in your car. Now, we will proceed with the entire installation process, mounting the amplifier, subwoofer, and speakers, so you can understand how the power supply connects to the audio input, and then outputs to the 2 Zenith XM65RT mid-range speakers and XT65 tweeter speakers, as well as the US10D2 subwoofer speaker. The music output will be directed from the Escort 1000.1D amplifier to the US10D2 subwoofer. Additionally, the Escort 640.D will output to the mid-range and tweeter speakers. Now, in addition to the Cadence products showcased on the table, we will need some tools to install and adjust the wiring. For example, when we need to secure the power and audio cables to the amplifier, we'll need to use an Allen wrench. The Allen wrench comes in 2 sizes, 4mm and 2mm, and both sizes are used for securing the cables. Besides the Allen wrench, we'll also need a flathead screwdriver, which is used to adjust settings like gain, high-pass filter, and low-pass filter. These settings can be found on the knobs, and we'll use the flathead screwdriver to make adjustments. Alright, that wraps up the introduction. Next, we'll proceed with the installation steps, and once everything is installed, we'll show you the results. We'll also listen together to see how the entire audio system performs. This way, you'll have a comprehensive experience of the audio system's capabilities.